Hello and welcome to the live post-match reaction on This is Ibrox. I'm joined by Iain Mitchell to talk about another woeful away performance from Rangers away to Dundee. Iain, I'll just get your overall thoughts on that game before we get into it.
Wow, what an open question that is. Not a surprise. Not a surprise in any way, to be honest. Exactly what we've come to expect, seeing us away from home the last few weeks and months. I'll cut to the chase very quickly here. He's got to go. He's got to go. The players are one thing, and yes, a lot of them aren't playing anywhere near their potential. There's injuries throughout the squad. I get all that, but my God, it's just not good enough. Like I don't see how it's got even to this point, let alone this being a debate kind of thing. Like the football's awful to watch, the results aren't there, and yet we beat Celtic, and you kind of think, okay, maybe there's something there, a wee bit of hope to cling on to again, and again, it's just all been flung away. I can't even work out how many points behind we are right now at this point. Like it's beyond maths, so it's just not good enough. He's got to go, and we've got to end this. I'm sick of seeing it.
Yeah, look, I think the comments are agreeing with you here. Andy Mack says the manager needs to go now, not interested about the project and whatever, get rid now. Kyle 1872 says sack Clement, time has come. And CJ says if Clement's season isn't over, mine is. Yeah, let's try and dissect a bit of this game. Obviously, the starting lineup: Kelly in goals, Ridvan Proper and Siala Jefte, Baron Diomande, Cherny, Bayrami, Hadji, and Egoman. What was your initial reaction to that lineup? Just necessity, I suppose.
A little bit, yeah. The only surprise was Insiala coming in instead of King, but I wasn't too against that, to be honest. I feel like King, we know, isn't the answer, and I would rather have seen Insiala a bit more this season, considering like his pedigree, where he came from, kind of thing. And to be fair, he was fine tonight. I didn't think there was anything majorly wrong with his performance, so that was okay. The rest was exactly as expected. So it's not a perfect team. It's probably not a good team, but it's still a team that should be getting 3 points away at Dundee, and for the billionth time this season, it's not happened.
Yeah, what? Why? I know this is a $64,000 question, but why is we so bad away from home? I mean, I was looking at it. I think that's just gone out on the official TII account that's 13 points the whole season away from home that we have picked up. It's just it's unsustainable for a manager at Rangers, and it's just Patrick Stewart surely has a big decision to make now, because I'm finding it I was maybe one of the last ones to be on the Clement out bandwagon. I think I'll be fair to admit that. I was always, I can kind of see a project here, see what he's doing, yep. But I'm firmly, there is no coming back from this. It's just, you can see when you can predict what's going to happen before the game's kicked off. I mean, that just didn't surprise me at all during that. Let's try and talk about some of the game, I suppose. Defensively, we were awful during, I think, most of that game. Anytime Dundee came forward, I really felt it. I think it was yourself posted the wee stat that Sky said as well. I think Dundee had 19% possession before they scored that goal, but they had 7 attempts on goal. You've just got to, I mean, how has that happened? How can, is it the lineup that is it just the disharmony to it, or are just players not responding to Clement now?
See, I don't think the sort of disharmony or lineup work. I don't think that argument works anymore. Like Dundee bought a guy yesterday and flung him in, and he was pretty solid at the back. So this kind of thing is just a myth for me. Like it's no coincidence to me that we're pretty strong at home. 28 points out of 30. We've very rarely slipped up, even though performances haven't always been there. We have got the job done at home, and you go away from home and you're mid-table form at best. Like it has to be the manager for me. Like especially now, right? So you look at the centre-back situation, we've got a left-back and right-back, all this kind of stuff. Very valid excuses, right? But if that's your scenario, then surely as a coach and as a manager, you set up to be a bit more safe and a bit more stable at the back. Like, I don't know what that means exactly, but dropping your number 10, try to play an extra guy in midfield, try to bring your wingers back. I don't know exactly, but you've got all week to work on this kind of stuff, and it's just the same repeated crap we see week in, week out. Like, I don't know how many times I've watched Hadji and Badrami play in the same team, and it's not worked. Like, they're both very good footballers on their own, both pretty capable footballers at this level, but they don't work together. They're too similar to play in the same team, and yet we see it time and time again. And then I think there was a lot of comments in our chat about the subs he made tonight, and it was just a bit like selection bingo all over the place. Like, you've got Matondo coming on instead of Cortez or Danilo when the whole Danilo and Igaman thing was working as a two up front, and yet that's your last ditch choice with like half an hour to go that you move to that. Matondo ahead of Cortez again. Like I say, it doesn't make sense when Cortez got the start a few weeks ago, and then you're throwing Ross McCausland in, who's not kicked a ball in 2 months, at right back. Like, there's just so much desperation signs that I think Clement must know at this point that he's done. Like, how can you just be going, I'll put you on for you play there? Kind of, that's how it feels as a fan watching it. And as I say, the starting lineup just didn't fill me with confidence. The way the game started, just maybe more nervous, and it didn't feel like we're watching a Rangers team. It just felt like watching two mid-table teams battle it out, and the draw was the draw was the fair result in the end. I wouldn't say we deserved to win that game, even with the last 10 minutes that we had of kind of pushing for that. That should have been happening since the 10th minute, not the 80th.
Yeah, I mean, do you think it is just as simple as, I mean, I hate saying this, but looking on that pitch tonight, there just didn't seem to be too many players that were doing it for the manager, if you know what I mean. I mean, I seem to, I mean, even at like amateur level football, when you've got a few injuries and you know, things are right. I mean, I remember games when you had no substitutes, right? And you're like, right, let's really, we need to get up for this and really go at Dundee. Dundee the same as, and again, when you play the opposition and you're like, because Dundee's best player was not playing for them tonight. I think the midfield is certainly an area we'll come on to talk to. But I mean, why can the players just not get up for this? I mean, there's Derek Caldwell who comes in here and says, "Evening lads, no one is playing for the manager. They have lost hope." I think that kind of sums it up, Ian.
Yeah, you can't disagree with that. And I'm never really one for saying like the players have chucked it or they're not playing for a manager, but it sort of looks that way. I mean, all night there was individual errors and sloppy play. I saw a few comments there about Redvan having a tough game. I thought Jeffy was terrible. Cherny, apart from the goal, was awful. Diomande didn't kick a ball for us all night, apart from that shot. No one individually had a good game. But if you're in Clement, I would be hoping you have some way of fixing that or sort of waking the players up at half time and making a few tactical tweaks to fix it. And it just doesn't happen ever for us away from home. And again, I go back to it. It doesn't make any sense how we're so solid at home and yet this bad away from home. It's not like a small difference. It is absolute night and day. And we just see it time and time again. And these are drop points at venues that you wouldn't even class as like difficult away grounds for Rangers over the years. I know we dropped points last year there, but even looking back to the St Mirren result, the Motherwell result, Hibs has always been a pretty strong place for us to go, and that's 4 or 5 in a row there. We're just dropping points after dropping points. It's a miracle, really, that Aberdeen have fell off, because otherwise we could be really struggling in that battle for second right now. Yeah, we're just getting further and further away from Celtic. And I know the league was gone anyway prior to tonight and prior to the last few weeks. The league's been gone a long time, but it's starting to get incredibly embarrassing how far behind we're falling, and I only see that continuing if Clement does too.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very fair comment. Something as well that we've kind of already touched on it. Just some of these substitutions, man. It reeked of desperation. That is a man flinging things at a wall, trying to see it if it sticks. I mean, to bring on 3 left wingers at one point. I mean, taking Hadji off at halftime, put Matondo on, I just found this a bizarre substitution, taking Barron off, Danilo on, Ridvan off, McCausland on at left back, and Cherny off for Cortez on at the right wing. That is desperation from those substitutions.
Yeah, totally. And don't get me wrong, Ridvan deserved to come off. I think that sub was fine, but I go back to it. I don't see why Matondo comes on at halftime instead of Danilo, who has been pretty solid and scored plenty of goals off the bench recently. Would have let us put Badrami in that sort of left channel where he was doing okay. at certain points this season, so that made perfect sense. Yet he does total opposite of that and brings on pace and a guy Matondo who we know isn't good enough. Matondo's the kind of guy we should be shipping out of this window, not bringing on to try and score a goal. It's not going to happen. And the rest of those subs, again, just don't make any sense. I just don't get it. The Barron one is incredible for me because I don't think Barron was good tonight. Again, I think he had a poor game, but we had no control in midfield when that sub gets made. So how are you expecting to take control of midfield and take control of the game if you strip back a midfielder and put on an attacker? Like, Badrami's not going to sit back and try and sort of dictate play. Diomande isn't that kind of player. He's still trying to get forward. So it just meant any time Dundee did break, we looked so vulnerable. Like, we were quite lucky they didn't score. We were quite lucky a few of their chances were either a decent save from Kelly or their finishing wasn't up to it. If it was tonight, we're losing that game pretty comfortably. Because, like I say, any time Dundee were breaking forward on us, we didn't have any midfield to cover that. And it's just, you're nervous watching it again.
Yeah, listen, and I want to pick you up on that midfield point as well, because I felt defensively Rangers were really, really poor, but the midfield for me in this game was absolutely non-existent at point, which I was really disappointed in. It just shows you how big of a miss that Raskin is in this team. But I'm sorry, Diomande and Connor Barron have to be doing a bit better than me, because at times, to me, Ian, it just felt like Dundee just absolutely played right through us.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because I don't think those two work together very well, in the sense that they're both a bit more of your kind of box-to-box midfielders rather than a guy who's going to get on the ball, try and calm things down in moments, try and bring the play forward at times. They're not really great on the ball, either of them. And it's something I think Raskin has got better at the last few months, which is why we've seen so much like progression from him. He can try and dictate a game a little bit. Barron's not that guy. Diomande's not that guy. And it just means everything's a bit sloppy, a bit slow, very side to side. That first 25 minutes, it was just full back, centre back, full back, and back and back. And it's not as if we were then to lump it in the box. It was just passing it side to side for passing's sake. There was no penetration. There was no going like for a central play. It was nothing. I don't remember the Dundee keeper having many saves to make, especially in that first half. He had absolutely nothing to do. And Rangers can't be going to places like this and like having 1 or 2 or 3 shots on target. I think the first like hour or 70 minutes, I kind of think that's just not good enough. We should be battering these teams. And again, that's why I said at the start, it's not a surprise we don't, because we just don't play that way. And we do have the players there that could do it. We just don't play in that style.
Yeah, just a couple of comments here. Love for the Hill says he's got to go. No more excuses. Dave McGuinness says the team has no structure, no balance in the squad. Throw in a clueless manager. And Luke Gibson 97 says Dundee spend way less than us and have just as much injuries as we shouldn't be dropping points to them. And Stuart Allison here, I mean, obviously we are doing this live, so we're not actually seeing any of the post-match comments, but we're seeing, I'm reading that he's criticised Eagleman. If that's true, that's way off the mark. Stuart Allison says, don't hear Clement complaining about budgets now, compare ours to Dundee. So yeah, what is the next step from here? Because it's so difficult to see. I mean, I was in the pod yesterday with Kieran and Ross. We were talking about the transfers, who should Rangers be targeting, what areas should Rangers be targeting in. But I mean, I'm very much accepting of the fact that Clement will be here to the end of the season, because we just have no other choice. It saddens me to say, but I mean, can you see him being backed by Patrick Stewart and the board? Because I don't see how the board can have confidence in him. And if they don't have confidence in him, they're not going to give him any money to spend this window. I mean, it'll be fascinating to see what Patrick Stewart comes out and says. But I mean, can you see him being backed after this? Because I can't.
I don't think I want him to be honest. I don't think he's a long-term answer. I think everyone in this chat, both of us, everyone that does the podcast knows that he's not a long-term answer. So why would we then give him a checkbook to go and sign 2 or 3 of his players? I would much rather just bank the money, try and sort of keep a bit more sustainable till the summer, and then get rid of him, because it seems like he's going to stay until the summer regardless of what happens here. That's clearly what's happened, because he would have been out the door a long time ago if it wasn't the case. So we know he's staying, but I don't want to give him money to buy a certain player that then doesn't suit the next manager, if that makes sense. I think there's already enough guys in the squad of that kind of nature. I ideally want this window to be getting rid of 2 or 3 and then just seeing what like an Inciala can do over 6 months, what Cortez can do over 6 months. I think it was yourself that said it yesterday, or maybe Kieran. There's a decent squad in there of guys who have potential and are hitting a good age just now and could then sell on, but Clement's not getting the best out of them, so I don't trust him to get the best out of anyone that comes in. I'd rather just sort of go along with what we've got. We know we're finishing second. Pray for a good European run. I don't want him signing players that aren't going to be here like long term. I know there was chat yesterday, as you said, about like Johnny Evans coming in, Nico Katic coming back. These guys aren't going to be the long term answer in any way. So I'd rather just put Inciala and King together and just there you go, just see what you can do for 6 months. Like how much worse can it really get at this point? Like we're going to be second regardless. We're never going to win the league. You may as well just play the youth and play the potential you've got and just ride it out, basically.
Oh, listen, that's just standard chat from you wanting to get the B team squad in there. To be honest, any excuse to get Zach Lovelace on our team, to be honest, I'm all for it. But I suppose back to matters a bit more serious. But what? See the past few results, barring that Celtic game, will that have any impact on what Patrick Stewart is? And I still said it in yesterday's pod, I still find it the most bizarre situation ever that Rangers are basically deciding to, I think, tell the world their transfer plans. Does the negative away results, does that impact what Patrick Stewart's going to come out and say?
It's funny because I think, like we're both saying, I can't see him being sacked because I think he would be gone by now. But I put a tweet out myself like 20 minutes ago there saying, if Patrick Stewart doesn't make this decision to sack him, people will start turning on Patrick Stewart. Like, I can see why. Like, as I say, I'd want him sacked right now. I think most fans do. And the longer this drains out, yes, we're appreciative. We're going to be second this season at best. So it can't get much worse kind of thing. But you're going to start losing ticket sales. You're going to start, people just won't turn up. And you've got the problem of like selling season tickets and stuff like this. Like, fans are very loyal. Fans will come, will be at the Fraserburgh game and all this kind of stuff. But everyone's got a turning point, and you're starting to feel a bit like you're taking advantage of. Like that loyalty is just expected kind of thing. But we can't just keep going along knowing what's going to happen, knowing what happens in these away games. Like people have spent a lot of money going through Dundee tonight, probably knowing what they're going to watching it, and then having to travel back raging. Like you can only do that so long. It's just taking advantage of the fans at some point. And like I say, I think if Patrick Stewart doesn't start at least considering getting rid of Clement, then people will simply start turning on him.
Yeah, I totally agree. It says Clement threw Stewart under the bus with the transfer talk. But yeah, I totally agree in terms of it's just such an odd situation. It's such a frustrating situation from here. But I suppose last question of the pod before we kind of wrap it up. But what is the next step for Rangers? It's a nice simple one there for you, Iain, because I mean I was saying to you before we came on, it's been a long time since I've watched a game like that and just felt such disconnect to it. I mean, that's a game we're in it right up into, I mean, it's 1-1 up until 90 minutes, I suppose. But when what's his chops, Diomande crashed that ball off the bar, I didn't have a particularly big reaction to it, saying, oh no, we've just missed or whatever. I think that was sort of the case on the TV as well. But what is the next steps for Rangers here? Because it's something Clement is banged on about. When he came in, get the synergy with the fans, seemed to get it up, seemed to get buy-in, and now it's just, this is up there with the lowest I can ever remember it being. What is the next steps from Rangers?
I mean, there's a lot I want to happen. I mean, there's a very obvious sacking that I want to happen and try and rebuild something there. But I think it would just be a case of more of this. I mean, I've been on many a pod saying that I think his time's up and that he should go and that we need to start looking at the future, but it's not been happening. I think I'm just resigned to this fact now that he's going to be here. and we're just going to keep watching this muck. It's so stupid because I think everyone's saying the same. I can see us going to Manchester in 2 weeks' time and winning that game. Like I wouldn't be shocked at that, and you get a little bit of feel good for that night. But like you, I was the same. Even the goal, I think, was it Luke Gibson's comment there said that we scored a goal and it's not the usual like, oh yes, we're back in it, let's go cheering kind of thing. It's just like okay, good. Same as you, Diomande hits the bar, you barely flinch. Like that shouldn't be happening. No, it's just the fact that you draw that game, you win that game, doesn't really change it. And we're going to be second regardless. If it wasn't drop points there, it would drop points in a few weeks' time. It's depressing. It really is. But again, we've been on this pod many a time this season saying these exact words. So I just don't see how he can continue. But in the same breath, I'd be surprised if he was sacked. It's a very strange mindset I'm in just now, but I think we're all the exact same.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair summation of a lot of people's feelings. I mean, again, I said it on yesterday's pod. I've just accepted the fact. People keep asking me, "Oh, he needs to go. He should be sacked. He should be done." But I just think that I've just accepted that he will be here until the summer. And that's it. But listen, I think that's a nice cheery place to end the pod on for everybody. But thank you to everybody for tuning in, everybody that commented, everybody that watched. We will be back on Sunday with Craig. I believe there'll be a post-match reaction from Ibrox for the St Johnstone game, and then we'll be live at I'm not sure when we'll be live. I need to double check that. But yeah, tune in with the guys then. Make sure you're there. And again, thanks to everybody, and thanks for Iain for doing this, because it's never easy, is it?
Pleasure. Right,
Right, take care, everybody, and goodbye.